on BBC Radio Kent. You're listening to Anna Louise. Now, a charity in West Farleigh here in Kent have been helping vulnerable children in lockdown. Dandelion Time, a children's charity who use animals and nature to help children and families struggling with the effects of trauma, abuse and neglect, have adapted their service so that they can still operate during these strange times. Well, Graham Carpenter is the CEO. Graham, thanks for coming on the show. What is it about animals that are so good for us and for those who are going through difficult times?
Well, hi, Anne-Louise. Animals, there's a special connection that we have with animals. We can use them hugely in our therapeutic service. Children love to be with them. There's a kind of natural instinct to be with animals, and it's very good. It provides an opportunity for children to develop empathy, to develop feelings of care. Animals, big or small, have been used at Dandelion Time for the 17 years we've been functioning now.
Which animals specifically, Graham, do you pick to work with children?
Well, it just depends on the child's age, and the child's difficulties, and what kind of experience would be good for that child and good for the family that attend with the child. So we have donkeys. They're gorgeous. I mean, donkeys are lovely anyway. And we have right away down to little guinea pigs. Sheep, and we have chickens. Curiously, children love chickens. They're funny little creatures with feathers and not much else, but they do lay eggs, and so the eggs are fascinating for children. They love to pick the eggs and collect the eggs and then bake with them.
There is something so like you say, so curious, so fascinating about watching the animals. The chickens are quirky, aren't they, with their own personalities? All animals have their own character, which makes it fantastic to, then bring children in to work with them. I mean, their therapeutic qualities are incredible, aren't they? I mean, I've got a little mini farm in the Kent countryside. I live on the family's farm, and we've got all sorts of animals. And my mum actually got the coronavirus very severely, and we nearly lost her. And they were my therapy while I was looking after her and doing my radio shows from the home attic studios. They were my kind of release, to go out and kind of try and forget my troubles for 5 minutes. And it's just so calming, isn't it? Stroking the animals.
When you say forget your troubles, that's exactly what animals, and that's actually what nature does. Being in nature, you're working at the pace that nature works at, not at the pace that we try to inflict on nature, and indeed inflict on ourselves in a way. And so working with a natural environment and with animals and with growing things, growing food, you're working at a pace and a pulse that is naturally embedded in the world. And that's quite a strange place to be if you're not used to it. It's wonderful that you've had that experience, but of course lots and lots of the children we work with haven't had that experience. And so it's hugely important to give them that opportunity to reach out and connect with nature in all its forms.
And it's interesting, isn't it, Graham, because this is what we would have been doing back in the old days. We would have been working the land, we would have been working with animals, and that would have been a therapy for us. But now, like you say, so many children and so many of us don't get that time out in nature, do have busy schedules and have traumatic experiences in our lives and have no access to something that would have been so natural to us. Yeah,
that's quite right. And I think we've kind of lost our way a little bit with all of this. In a sense, what we're doing to each other, and particularly in the respect of the families we work with, often there's been trauma through domestic abuse. But those things are kind of mirrored in what we're doing to nature. We're kind of ignoring nature, and we're abusing the natural world. And so, in a way, unless we can connect with improving the relationship between humans and the natural world, I don't know whether we're going to be very successful in improving the relationships between ourselves. It's that stark, and it's that obvious. And so that's what Dandelion Time has been trying to do all these years. And this is very, very loved by the children and families that come to us. We are working with families, not just children, because we believe that parents, carers have got much expertise to offer into a therapeutic environment in helping their own children.
And for those children who are experiencing trauma, and families too, what changes do you see when they're around the animals?
We see people becoming more relaxed. We see children having fun, being able to often open up to animals, actually verbally. You know, we've had children who've been able to say things to the donkeys with their big, big ears, things that they had struggled to say to another human being. So sharing with animals, being the sense of responsibility as well. So caring for animals, giving that, helping a child to nurture care for an animal. It's a very beautiful thing to see that child who's maybe not experienced so much of that in their own lives, then being able to express that themselves quite naturally when they're presented with animals, and often little animals as well. Little animals are great.
And you're still running sessions. I know sometimes they get forgotten about, don't they? You're still running sessions, Graham, with the animals during lockdown, which is just incredible. How are you making it work?
Yeah, well, we normally work in a multi-family. That's to say, quite a few families working with our therapeutic team together at one time on the farm. But we can't do that. Quite obviously, we can't do that. But we were determined to try to reach those children, those families that are really struggling with the effects of the COVID-19 lockdown in particular. And so we've kept our service open, and we're now expanding our service to work with individual families, one at a time, to make quite sure that we're giving people a chance to have a complete break from the tensions that get built up within the home environment, which are quite unnatural, aren't they, for us all? We're not used to
that kind of therapy for people who are going through difficult, traumatic, horrendous times in their life, those who've experienced abuse. These sessions would be a lifeline then. But, I mean, during these strange times, it's so important that these families get time out, like you say, of essentially these prisons we're in, time out to have that release.
It is so vital. And as you rightly say, I mean, we're working all the time with families that are struggling and have struggled with the effects of difficulties often over generations. And those haven't drifted away just because we're all shut up inside our flats or in our homes. Those tensions have become even more pronounced often. And so we're able to work with those families to bring them out of that environment and to help them to reconnect often and rebuild those trusting and hopeful communications and relationships within the family, which of course helps children when they're eventually going to go back to school, because these are often the children who have struggled already at school, so it's not going to be easy for children to go back into the school environment.
And not only do they get a chance to be with the animals and care for the animals, like you've said, Graham, but what I love is they also get to work the land with you and do farm work, that physical, which can be quite hard and real grafting activities. There's something very therapeutic, I find, about farm work, which sounds hilarious when you talk about kind of poo picking and mucking out, because it sounds grim, but actually that is an incredible release. It
is. And just good. Really, the basic stuff as well, growing vegetables, children actually experiencing their hands in the earth and to pull out of the earth something that's going to be really, really delicious to eat, a jacket potato that's been pulled from the earth. That's wonderful. And not an experience these days that children necessarily have. Not just troubled children, but lots of children don't have an experience of actually seeing where their food comes from and then getting involved in cooking it. So, dandelion time, children have an opportunity to, with their parents and carers, get involved in growing their food at dandelion and then cooking it. And we're also, in the lockdown, we've been posting seeds out to people, which has been really great as part of our dandelion parcel service. We're posting out craft activities for children to do. That's to say the children who we're working with. It wouldn't be for every child across Kent at the moment, but and then they can plant their own seeds and grow.
I mean, I can just imagine the excitement of receiving one of your parcels full of all sorts of nature wonders. Knock at the door and receiving that. It must be so thrilling, Graham.
Yes, you must be very much in touch with your little inner child, then I imagine.
Oh,
still.
totally,
Yeah.
totally.
And that is so
Graham,
important because
isn't it?
that is kind of what the Dandelion Time approach is all about. Is being in touch with what it actually means to be a child, and the fears that children have. I mean, it's a shame and sad that children have to worry so much with almost an adult perspective on life when actually, they are children.
Graham, thank you so much. It's been fascinating talking to you. We're running out of time, but quickly, for those who want to find out more, support you and get in touch, where can they do that?
So dandeliontime.org.uk, and please be in touch with us. We have various things going on that can be accessible to the public. Some little videos I made called Bump the Badger, which might appeal to younger children.
Graham, thank you. We'll have to catch up another time. This is BBC Radio to Kent. That was Graham from Dandelion Time.